every year I bring this up, and I think I'm proven correct every year. Because tonight we're going to get the four from the College Football Playoff Committee that is in position the 1 week before it becomes official who is in the College Football Playoff. Okay. We're expecting here Clemson, Oklahoma, Wisconsin, and Auburn tonight. That's what we're expecting to hear in one way, shape, or form. I just gave you the order as it currently is standing in the AP Top 25. And then on the outside looking in is Alabama, Georgia, Miami, and Ohio State. Now, one must think that Miami can play themselves in and Clemson could play themselves out, right? With a win in the ACC championship game that goes down this Saturday in the home of the Carolina Panthers in Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. And a lot of people are saying, well, if you have 8 teams, then that game means nothing, right? Unless Miami loses, then Miami would be out. Because I'd take a 2-team. I would take a 2-loss team that hasn't made their conference championship game over a team that's lost their last 2 games. I would do that if I'm on a playoff committee.
Okay, but why do you want the 2-loss team in there anyway?
Because, all right, well, hear me out before we get to this. Okay. And by the way, Miami, it would have been a huge game for Miami playing Pitt anyway, because you don't want to lose 2 in a row to get knocked out. Last week's game would have been just as big. Same thing with Clemson and South Carolina. Clemson couldn't have afforded a second loss going into an ACC championship game. They wanted to make an 18 playoff. For sure. The Michigan-Ohio State game would have meant everything as well. Ohio State couldn't have afforded to have lost a 3rd straight game going into a conference championship game against Wisconsin. Can't do that. And if Wisconsin loses a Big Ten championship game against an Ohio State team with an 8-team conference, you could sit there and say, well, of course they'll take a 1-loss Wisconsin team over a 2-loss, say, TCU team or USC team. Really? How about a 3-loss Auburn team? There might be some controversy over that. I don't think I'm stretching here either. You make it 8 teams, and the reason why is this. We have seen 6 seeds go on to win the Super Bowl. We have seen wild card teams go on to win the World Series. We have seen, in the case of the University of Michigan, I believe the Michigan Wolverines, the year Glenn Rice won it all, was a 7 seed. We've seen teams way down the food chain in a regular season play eke their way into a postseason play and win it all.
But that doesn't mean they're the best team. They played best over a 2-week small sample size.
Why not do it for college football? Why not also throw right now? UCF is not even a consideration. Right?
No, they're 12th in the AP poll.
Correct. Not even a consideration because of who they are and who they've played. Why wouldn't you want to see, in the same way that we all pull up a chair every March to see if that 12 seed can knock off the 5 seed, to see if the 13 seed can knock off the 4 seed, the 15 seed that knocks off the 2 seed? I mean, we as a basketball-loving nation go nutty over that stuff. Oh, gosh, when Michigan State Middle Tennessee State knocks off somebody as a 15 seed, I think it was Michigan State a couple years ago. When a 15 knocks off a 2, we're not sitting here thinking, well, 15 didn't deserve to get in there. Well, they did win their conference championship of a conference I've never seen play. But, hey, I'm going to sit up and pull a chair up and watch this game on TBS, CBS. I'm sitting up and pulling a chair to watch that one because it's a March Madness game. Why don't we want to throw UCF in against a number 1 seeded Clemson? Oklahoma gets through their gauntlet of a season, and here comes an undefeated UCF team. Why wouldn't we want to throw them in as an 8 seed? And sure, if it's a blowout, well, you could sit there and say, what a waste of time. But you'd sit there and watch it. And one year that might not be a blowout. One year we may see the Boise State pop through. And then somebody proposes at the end of the game, and we're talking about that for a full week. Why not? And you can't sit here and say, well, the college football season is so long and we're going to add another game to it. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to do it. We're going to do it Christmas week. That's what we're going to do. We're going to have 4 games Christmas weekend. Then we're going to have 2 games New Year's Eve weekend. And then we'll have the championship game where we have it. Wouldn't you want to watch 4 games with everything on the line on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day or whatever weekend that is, rather than fill in the blank bowl with half the stadium filled? We'll go the optimistic way of doing it, instead of half empty.
I already watch games with everything's on the line. That's December college football. That's late November. It's college championship weekend. I already watched those games.
I just told you that those games, Michigan, Ohio State, if Ohio State's trying to get into an 8-team field, a third loss by losing to Michigan would have knocked them out. Knocked them out.
But a second loss, already having 2 losses, might keep them out anyway, even if they win their conference championship.
No, sir. Take a look, for instance, Pac-12 championship, 9-3 Stanford versus 10-2 USC.
Yeah, none of those teams have a legit chance to win the national championship.
8 teams in it. They're playing for the right to go into the 8-team playoff. We're all tuned in Friday night to watch USC play Stanford. And then maybe Darnold goes on a run. Or maybe Stanford goes on a run with their Heisman Trophy candidate. And we're watching this on a nationally televised front. Why not? What do we have
But
to lose?
they have 3 losses. We already know they're not one of the best teams in the league. So why are we giving them a chance to have a fluke national championship?
Chris, how many times have you seen a Super Bowl won by a team that has 6 losses, 7 losses?
Yeah, and they're not the best team that year. They just happened to get hot for 3 weeks.
The New York Giants are staring at their Super Bowl ring of 2007.
Right. They were not the best team that year.
They were the best team that year. They were.
They weren't.
They made the playoffs, which is all you have to do, and they beat all the competition in front of them, like Brett Favre on the road. They were in freezing temperatures. They ended Brett Favre's Packers career, and then they sat there in front of you, and you could say, well, it was a roll of the dice any given Sunday. Yeah, any given Sunday was Super Sunday. They beat you.
They weren't the best team that year because the guy's ball stuck to his helmet. They weren't the best team. It's fine. We can all admit it. They played well for 3 weeks, and they got the luckiest play in NFL history. That doesn't make you the best team that year. I'm sorry. That's just facts. It's just honest.
Can you do me a favor and look up to me who won the Super Bowl in 2007?
Just because you win the Super Bowl does not mean you were the best team that year. You won the trophy, and you had the greatest 3 weeks. You were not the best team.
And yet we're talking about that game forever.
Because of one lucky play.
Because no, not one lucky play, because they made the playoffs. They beat Brett Favre in the overtime. They went on a run, and they saw Brady and his no losses, and Belichick and his no losses and his one hoodie, and didn't blink in Arizona. And we're talking about it. And we're being robbed of that possible moment in college football because we're keeping it to just 4 teams.
Oh, I disagree.
Okay. 844-204-RICH. Number to dial.
The Rich Eisen Show. Weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.